Well, 2023 for me, I think has been a bumper year for comics. I won't say it's the bestest year ever, but it's certainly been. I do weekly comic reviews, and if I'm doing 5 or 6 books a week plus some also rans, and you add all that, I mean, sometimes I do repeat myself. Anyway, this is my top 10 for this year. I have cheated, but we'll talk about that after the scroll. Bonjour. So let us get right into my top 10. We won't be doing a deep dive. If you are here for the first time, welcome. And if you're one of my sexy subscribers or regular viewers, welcome back. You know what's... And if you're one of my regulars, you kind of know what's coming up, really. It's a little bit, I've spoiled it for you, haven't I? Because these are the ones I've been banging on about all year. But you might have forgotten. This is my top 10. So no deep dive, but I'll just run through them and then go through some also honourable mentions. In at number 10, don't laugh, is Darkwing Duck. Yeah, I know. You expected better, didn't you? If you haven't been here before, you expected better than this. But believe me when I say this takes reading this comic. What's her name? Amanda Dybart and Carlo Lauro on the art. They take me. I feel like a child watching a Saturday morning cartoon when I read that comic. And it is laughs aplenty. They keep it family friendly. It's obviously got to be a family friendly comic. But nevertheless, that doesn't mean that they've made it lame. Please believe me when I say that is great fun. Honestly, great fun. And I hope that has led to a lot more people getting the comics, to be fair. Like the younger generation or whoever. I really do hope so. But those two on that, Amanda Dybart and Carlo Lauro on that, have been superb. And from that, I started getting Negaduck as well, which is one of their enemies. And I think they're bringing out the Justice Ducks. I can't get enough of those ducks. Let's move on to number 9. Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, we're all familiar. I haven't got to explain to you the shtick. I don't think I have to anyway. But what Lansing and Kelly have done, there's two writers on this. Is it Jackson Lansing? Sorry, I'm always like this if you haven't been here. Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing. But for me, Kev Walker on the artwork as well. This book has reminded me of 2000 AD. All the way through, like a 2000 AD story, which was, if you're not familiar, that is the UK science fiction anthology comic from 1977 that spawned Judge Dredd, Strontium Dog, Rogue Trooper. Started off all the careers of lots of famous, Dave Gibbons, Alan Moore, all the British invasion. But this reminds me, where it's quirky and weird. And this is kind of like a bit of a space western as well when it first starts out, but just evolves into something more, into something really weird and wonderful, which is Groot World. I've just thoroughly enjoyed it. One of those books in your top 10. It's got to be one of those books that you just can't wait to get home and read. And this one for me, even though where I pick up all my books from isn't far away at Comics and Fantasy in Hornchurch in Essex. Hello there, Paul, and to all the regulars. Just top of the shop for me, that. And as I'm reading it, I can kind of hear the voices of the actors in the films, even though it's got nothing to do with it. But yeah, just really good, really good read. Now at number 8, I did this last year. I cheated, right? But it was this was at my number 10 last year. And what I'm going to say it's the Batman books. For me, the DC team on the Batman books do an absolutely superb job. I do really sincerely wish that Marvel were half as good with their top flight titles. Now, I'm not saying DC are as good with Superman. I'm not saying that. But with Batman, for some reason, they have consistently good titles. Not everything they do that is in the Batman family, like I said last year. But at number 8, there's going to be 3 or 4 books here. And like I've previously mentioned, all of these you can find deep dives of, because I have done deep dives of all of this in my weekly comic reviews. So just search through the playlist and they'll all be there. You can see the artwork in glorious Technicolor. This one, and I even done a separate video on this, because this is my Batman. That is exactly, this is issue 2, Black Label, old Raphael Grandpa, his artwork. He's written and drawn this, but his artwork just gives it, and it's like the film Seven, with the storyline, with the mystery that the Batman's got to solve, but it's done in such a unique style. The same as these detective comics this year, the same as last year. What DC have done is separated the detective comics. I mean, just look at the cover of that. You can see it. Sorry about the glare, but anyway, that what they've done is they've kept detective comics nice and gothic. The artwork in it is like a very similar style to like Bill Sienkiewicz back in the day when he was doing Moon Knight and all that, and that they've kept it truly gothic. Brave and the Bold. Now, that isn't strictly Batman, but nevertheless, his name's on it, so I'm going to include it because I can, because it's my channel. Now, this is an anthology title, and again, they've got. There's always a black and white Batman story in the back. Colour one at the front, but a one-off Batman, and it's been tryouts for certain writers and artists and stuff, which I've really enjoyed. There's an Aquaman story in this one, and they've dug up Wild Dog for this issue, if anyone remembers him back in the day. So it's always an interesting read, but nice square bound format, and yeah, it has been, again, that word which I'm going to use a lot with this top 10 is consistently good. The main Batman title as well, it just deserves a mention. That is the main Batman title. Actually, out of all of them, this is the one, I'll say I enjoy the least, but that doesn't mean I don't enjoy it. It just means that it has got stiff competition. But this is your main Batman title. You can compare that to the main Spider-Man title over at Marvel, and it does hurt me to say it, but Spider-Man, X-Men, just wasting it all away. Anyway, this is to talk about the good stuff, the good top 10. In at number 7, yes, Transformers. Now, I wasn't this franchise's biggest fan back in the day. I didn't have the toys. I didn't watch the cartoons. I don't know why it passed me by. But this comic, again, Darren Warren Johnson on the writing and the drawing of it. Yeah, it's just been, and you wouldn't think his style would suit Transformers. You expect like something almost digitally created, clean and crisp and bright, and he's got this kind of raw style. But I tell you what, he's having so much fun with these characters, with all of the whole pantheon of the Transformers universe, that you can't help to be sucked along with him. Thoroughly enjoying it. Number 6, in this massive format as well, this sci-fi war. It's like, sci-fi war. I would describe this as The Forged, and it's a team of female kind of DNA created, whatever you want to call it, space marines. But don't, you could go, oh, here we go, a load of girls in space. No, don't. It's just part of what it is. And they give you all little tech bits at the back. Like backstory, and the artwork and the colouring, absolutely beautiful. But that's my kind of sci-fi. That it's proper hard sci-fi. Well, little techie bits at the back that just add, or it might be a news item that they put in that just embellishes the story you've just read, or a few pages out of a technical manual or something. Just nice little bits like that. Just added to it, and in that large format with that artwork, Greg Rucka's the writer on it. I don't know what else Eric Troutman and Mike Henderson have done, but I love it. Now, someone you will have heard of, Mark Millar of Kick-Ass fame, etc., etc. This is a nice fresh take on superheroes, the Ambassadors. At number 5 for me. I think it was 5 or 6 issue miniseries, but it was a modern spin on superheroes, where basically this woman, she can create superheroes through science, and she can give you what superpowers you like. And I'll leave it at that as just your premise. But what they did is they had a rotating, in the 5 or 6 issues, and Frank Quitely's in the first issue, and then they had Travis Cheris back in one of the issues. I mean, it must have taken him, that's probably why we've waited years for the book, because he was back to give us some glorious artwork. But all the artists were good on it. Top drawer talent, art-wise. Mark Millar, writing it. And I think that was the last title before Big Game, where he basically used everyone in his universe from the first comic he written all the way through. That wasn't in my top 10, funnily enough, but I'll just give that an honourable mention, Big Game. I don't know why. Perhaps it was because it was just a wrap-up. Anyway. At number 4, this was a surprising, sometimes you try an issue 1 and you think but you don't know why. This just looked unusual with the flaming, this mysterious, it's a fantasy book. I thought this may have been an alien, or maybe a superhero or supervillain. And then when you look inside, and it's the artwork in it is like something out of heavy metal back in the day. Max Fuimara, Rick Remender, who's written tons and tons of stuff, a good writer of high renown. This is it's a surprisingly fresh take on a fantasy story. We're following this pigeon boy. Bear with me. In this fantasy world, his tribe are like these pigeons, but a child is taken from hence the sacrifices. All the villages in this world, this fantasy world, have to give one of their youngsters for sacrifice to the elite to go to the city to work. But there's more than that to it, isn't there? Obviously, but it's a beautifully drawn and coloured, and obviously Rick Remender is weaving a great story there. Thoroughly recommend, because that is my number 4. Sorry. World's Finest. I think I've done this last year as well, and I think it was in last week's. I just keep banging on about it. And I keep banging on about it because Batman and Superman, World's Finest, it doesn't, with Mark Waid. And with Dan Moore on the artwork, I've got another cover here, look. That don't sell comic. And I think it's because I love superheroes. Sorry, I do. That's not even a real apology, really. I'm unapologetically a fan of superheroes from way back. But it just seems like no one can get a grip of it anymore. Except Mark Waid, Jeff Johns. There's obviously a few more, but those two always kind of rise to the top for me. But there are more. There are more. I mean, J. Michael Straczynski has just started back on Captain America, but in a way, and I like his writing, and he's a great writer, but he's not doing Captain America in that superhero-y way again. You know, the one thing I do hate, and JMS isn't doing this on Captain America, but the deconstructionist stuff, you know, that Alan Moore and Frank Miller done like 40 years ago, that just seems to be the only way anyone can go with it. Instead of embracing what makes it Mark Waid, and with Dan Moore, and again consistency, I think barring a couple of issues maybe, they've been on that for all 21, 22 issues so far. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. And you don't get better than Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman and all the rest of them. I mean, just look at, you've only got to take a look at the covers. Look, to know what's going on. Like, if you're not going to get excited about that, then I don't know what. And I'm a Marvel fan, but Marvel are not giving us that. They're not. No way are they giving us that. I mean, Glory. And like I say, it was in my top 10 last year. It's there again. I think it's even moved up to number 3. Number 2. Now, this would have been number 1, to be fair, but what they've done is, it's not, not an end of the world thing, but this has been such a Jim Zub writing the story and the artwork that has recreated John Buscema's like original, like 80s, 90s Conan, even from the magazines, and you can tell by the art style they've recreated a feel. But they've changed. They've got for the first 5 issues, for the first 4 issues, they had Roberto Della Torre on the artwork, and it was, like I say, a glorious homage to John Buscema. But that's that storyline, and now this storyline is a different artist. Otherwise, that would have been number 1 if they'd kept on going. They've got the same writer, but maybe they are just swapping around the art teams, which I don't so much mind with Conan, because he's quite a well-defined character, isn't he? So, but that has been a proper hark back to the good Conan comics. Come from the books, didn't it? But I'm talking about the Conan comics and the magazines. It's a proper throwback, and superb. All the better for it. Now, in at number 1, this bad boy. 7 issues in, and Philip Kennedy Johnson? I've got to get these names right. You know what I'm like with names if you follow my video. Yeah, Philip Kennedy Johnson and Nick Klein on the artwork have put the Hulk into the horror genre, and quite squarely into the horror genre, and they are weaving a really dark, they're creating quite a dark world, a dark atmosphere, creepy atmosphere, for which the Hulk has entered, and it is really refreshing. Like, you would not. I've never seen the Hulk kind of done that way before, and I know he's been kind of set. He's been fired off to a planet, and he's been a hitman in Vegas, whatever he was. So they've tried putting him in different settings, but I don't ever know one. And that, for me, my number 1 book. I cannot wait when that comes out. And that month's issue, that issue 7, has only come out last week. So if you want to see the deep dive on the artwork, you've only got to look back 1 week on my comic chat, number 53, if you want to check out the artwork in that and find out a little bit more. But they are my top 10 bad boys of the year. And I tell you what, I must have had a list of about 30. And I've tried condensing them down, but I've got a couple of honourable mentions here. One of them being now Distillery. have emerged this year. Distillery have emerged this year as a new independent publisher, and I've got to admit, out of this top 10, 6 books are from indies, independents. 2, is there 2? Yeah, 2 Marvel, 2 DC. It just goes to show you this is where it's at with little indies like Distillery. Just come out. This Somna is a cheeky, kind of erotic, sexy kind of horror. Very nice. The team that done Barnstormers for Dark Horse, which was also very, very, very nicely accomplished. Another sci-fi, and in this large, I think Distillery are doing it all in this large format. And by Jock, this is a sci-fi. We follow a girl who's down on the lower levels in this dystopian future, who basically is trying to rob stuff off of a spaceship. It takes off, and the story ensues from there. So it's only issue 1 of both of those from Distillery, but I'm going to be checking them out more this year. The quality level has been awesome. Another sci-fi to recommend. There's been a lot of good sci-fi this year, because there certainly hasn't in cinema, is there? At least we can rely on comics, eh? All Against All. Basically, a story revolving around aliens messing around with the last human alive, set in the far-flung future. Enough said. And beautiful artwork by Caspar Wingard in that. Gorgeous. All Against All. That'll probably be in graphic novel format now. These are just like the ones that just didn't make it into the top 10. I don't know if they'll do a graphic novel of this. It was 3 issues. I assume they will. And everything it says on the tin. John Constantine, Swamp Thing, Green Hell. That was a beautiful thing. Doug Mank on the artwork. And Jeff Lemire, if you don't know, he can weave a horror tale, that boy. He really can. And with Doug Mank on that artwork, yeah. And talking of artwork, Lee Bermejo on this. Now, I didn't put this in the top 10 because I don't know when the next issue is going to be out. It's taken, Boom Studios, another good indie publisher. The artwork in it is absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning by Lee Bermejo, who you probably know more for covers, if you know his name at all. And if you want to see the artwork in that, I do recommend you search out my my deep dive wherever I've done A Vicious Circle. Again, a lot of time travel sci-fi. Been a lot of that in the indies. And I've really enjoyed it. Like I say, probably because I'm not getting my fix out of TV or cinema. And that is it. That is it. My top 10 of 2023. I hope you enjoyed it. I will leave it there and keep it short and sweet, unlike what I normally do, which is waffle on too long. If you've enjoyed this and you haven't subscribed, please do. You can get more of this every single week. Me waffling about the good stuff. I do have a little whinge. Not every week, but most weeks, yeah. I do, I will pick. I only recommend the comics that I've bought myself and read. So it's not like I get a copy of everything and just fling it all out there and make sure that there's a different issue of everything, just for the sake of doing a video. It's what I read. It's what I enjoy. So please join me. Please subscribe. Check me out. Check out the deep dives on that. And I hope you all have a good New Year, whatever the time this video goes out. Yeah, it's probably before the New Year. So I wish everyone who stayed with me this far, you have a great New Year. And I'll see you all on the other side. Adios.